Good evening, class. I want to thank you for watching the video, hence our opening slide today. So make sure that you really have the video in the foreground, that you really stop doing whatever else you're doing, and you're really focused in. Today we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about section 1.9, that is going to be, we're going to take what we've been doing with integers, and instead of adding, subtracting them like we've done in the past, we're going to now talk about multiplying and dividing integers. And again, a quick reminder, when you see this word integers, okay, I want you all to think what that is math buzzword for positive and negative numbers. Okay, so as we get started, I want to back up for just a moment and let's review the three commandments for when we are adding and subtracting integers. Okay, first of all, the first commandment is thou shalt not subtract under any circumstances. Okay, so if you do have a subtraction problem, what we're going to do is instead we're going to add the opposite. And let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and write that in there. Thou shalt not subtract, instead add the opposite. Okay? Okay, so we're going to convert all of our subtraction problems into addition problems right off the bat. All right, now, second commandment, if the two things we're adding, because we're adding at this point, if they have the same sign, we find the sum. If they have different signs, we find the difference. Okay, that was the second commandment. And then the third commandment, at the end, the sign of the answer is going to be the sign of the larger value. Keep the sign of the larger value. And by value, remember that we mean absolute value. Okay, so we're looking at just the number part. Whichever number part is bigger, that's the number that's going to win the tug of war. So especially when we're doing a difference problem, these guys right here, oops, okay, when we're doing those, okay, that's going to be when the third commandment is really going to matter. We're going to pick the sign of the larger value. Okay, now again, this is for adding and subtracting integers. This is from sections 1.5, 1.6. This is what you do when you see pluses and minuses, okay? What we're going to be talking about today is we're still going to be talking about positive and negative numbers, but instead of adding and subtracting them, we're now going to be multiplying and dividing them. But, and this is where it gets tricky, right here in the three commandments, if you look closely at commandment 2, same sign, find the sum, different signs, find the difference. Let's carry that over to another slide here. Okay, let's rewrite. This is the second commandment. I'm rewriting it. Same sign, we're going to find the sum, and different signs, we're going to find the difference. Now I want you to think about sum. When you think of the word sum, what do you think about? You think about doing what to two numbers? The sum means you're adding them. And the symbol for adding is a plus sign, right? Okay. Well, what about if we're doing a difference? When I say find the difference of two values, your mind is already going back to the way you've always done things. And so when you find the difference between two numbers, you're subtracting. That's a minus, correct? All right. So if you remember that second commandment really well, sum, your mind's already kind of thinking positive, right? So if you're adding things together with the same sign, you're supposed to find their sum, which means you add. If you're adding two things together that have different signs, you're supposed to find the difference. That means to subtract. Well, now these symbols mean other things too. This sign doesn't just mean to add. It also means positive. It makes you think about positive. It makes you think about positive in science, on a battery, and in numbers, it makes you think of a positive number. Whereas this symbol, instead of meaning to subtract or to minus, can also mean negative. So very similar to the second commandment, this is what's going to happen when we multiply and divide integers. It turns out that if we multiply or divide things with the same sign, either two positives or two negatives, the answer comes out to be positive. Whereas if we multiply or divide two numbers with different signs, the answer is going to come out to be negative. So let's go ahead and practice a couple of these. Okay, so if I ask you what negative 7 times negative 2 is, well, 7 times 2 is 14, so that part's pretty straightforward. Okay, and it's a negative times a negative. They're the same sign, so that is the answer, positive 14. Okay, if you want to remind yourself, it's okay to put a little plus there. You don't need to, but if you just want to make sure that you go back and check your signs, you can do that. Let's try another one. If I take negative 16 and divide it by negative 4, again, we're dividing one negative number by another negative number, So the answer is positive 4. All right. All right, what if the two things have different signs? So what would 3 times negative 5 be? Well, again, 3 times 5 is 15, but now they're different signs. One's positive, one's negative, so the answer is going to come out to be a negative 15. And the last problem, let's take positive 20 divided by negative 4. Think about that for a second. The quotient is 5, and because we have a positive divided by a negative, they're different signs, so the answer is negative 5. All right, so that's how we multiply and divide positive and negative numbers. Okay, now, before we get to your book, let's try one more question. What if I have a problem like this? 3 times negative 5 divided by there we go, divided by negative 1. All right, so this problem, we're going to use order of operations, and order of operations says to do the parentheses first. Okay, well, the only thing in the parentheses are single numbers, so that's already done. Do exponents next. Well, there aren't any. Next, we're going to do multiplication, division, and I see one of each. I see an implied multiplication right here. We'll put a little dot there. And I see a division sign here. So we're going to go from, they're tie, so we go from left to right. So 3 times negative 5 is going to give us negative 15 because they are different signs. The product is 15. The sign comes out negative. Now, negative 15, I'm going to rewrite this as negative 15 divided by negative 1. And now they're the same sign. And so negative 15 divided by negative 1 comes out to be 15. All right, so that's my final answer. But if I go back and look at the original problem, okay, another little trick, especially when you're doing a lot of arithmetic, if you look through the problem and it's all multiplication and division problems, okay, you can actually figure out a way to know in advance whether the final answer should be positive or negative. And the trick is you count up all the negatives. Okay? Now I'm going to leave that there. I want you to think of a rule. So suppose we're multiplying and dividing a whole bunch of positive and negative numbers. Okay? What you're going to do to know what the sign is at the end, if it's more than just 2 numbers, is you're going to count the number of negatives. And I want you to try to think of what the rule is going to be for whether the final answer is going to come out to be positive or negative. All right? So what does counting the number of negatives allow you to do in terms of predicting that answer? Okay, and this would be a good question for the daily quiz, as would the review, as would that first slide, and maybe a little bit about why I used that slide, the I, remember that? To really thank you for really watching these videos with good attention. Do remember to bring your textbook to class tomorrow, and we're going to practice a bunch of these problems and really just get to the point where we're really comfortable working with positive, negative numbers. And as I've said before, positive, negative numbers are something that really give a lot of people trouble. And if you get really good at them now, this will be something that won't give you issues in the future. All right? So let's see. The last 3 words today. I can't think of anything interesting. So it's going to be the last 3 words. I can cheat it a little bit there. That's 3 words and 1 number. Okay? We'll see you in class tomorrow, and thanks for watching.